Okay, so let's get into the shit. I spoke highly on just some horror movies from 2021, but there was plenty of bad horror movies from 2021. Here are the top 5 of the worst, in my opinion. Starting the list at number 5, Don't Breathe 2. First of all, who was asking for a Don't Breathe 2? The first movie was pretty good for what it was. If you're going to do another Don't Breathe, why would you not bring back Jane Levy, who is the main character of the last film, at least the surviving of the main characters from the last movie? She was a likable character. You even have a cliffhanger ending with the first film as far as the blind man not being dead and possibly setting up him coming after her. It was ready-made right there. Premise alone, yes, this is bullshit. Second, the blind man, who in the first movie, yes, sure, you could argue that he was defending himself, people broke into his house, but then you come to find out that he had kidnapped a girl who possibly accidentally killed his daughter, but that doesn't make it okay that he's been torturing this girl and doing certain things to try to get her pregnant. This is sick and twisted shit. So what does the second movie do? Let's make that blind man the good guy, the main character this time around. What? This movie tried the 180 approach of trying to present him as a better person, trying to say that he is atoning for the bad things that he's done in his life. And once again, I call bullshit. I don't buy it. You come to find out that he now has a new girl sort of being raised by him, and the circumstances surrounding how the hell that happened, once again, creepy and just weird. The only explanation for this plot is them trying to say that, hey, there are worse people out there than the blind man. The supposed parents of this girl who are back to not just take her because they want their family back. No, that would make too much sense. That would actually be more interesting. No, they want her because they want to kill her and take her heart to put into the mother because the mother's dying or some said shit. The logistics and whether or not this could even possibly happen, put that aside. This is dumb. At number 4, VHS 94. Now, a couple of the VHS movies from the past, I do like the premise. I do think it's interesting. I love the idea of horror anthologies just because of how creative and how different each and every one can be. But this movie suffers from the same problems that I have with those other VHS films. The fact that they don't really all connect. And I'm not saying you have to connect them, anthology movies in general, but these movies present these stories as if they all take place in the same world. And so, well, if that's the case, how can we have different examples, different stories of, in one case, it's an alien invasion, in another case, it's a zombie apocalypse, but none of it is truly affecting the other, or none of it's affecting the main story that we're watching of our main characters watching these tapes. It all seems convoluted. There are 2 decent stories in here. I'm talking about the funeral wake scene and also the crazy surgeon who turns a person into a hybrid robot thing. As wacky and as goofy as that sounds, it at least was the most creative and imaginary story out there. I, in fact, would watch its own solo standalone movie just based off of this alone. I thought the effects, for probably the lack of money they had to make this, it reminded me so much of a video game come to life. And so that was all cool. But then you have the first story with the reporter in the sewers, Rat Man, I believe they called it. This was terrible. Whenever I get sucked in, I'm always let down. I'm always presented with the dumbest version of where this story turned out. And also that last story with the rednecks being attacked by the creatures, I couldn't give a fuck less about it. And the whole wraparound story of, oh, hey, the SWAT people. We're actually a part of this, and it's a cult, and we're just gonna kill people and move from there. It just was your typical uninspired, same shit type twist, bull crap that I've seen 1,000 times before. Number 3, Escape Room 2, Tournament of Champions. Once again, who in the blue fuck was asking for an Escape Room 2? Like, it was just taking the name from the Escape Room events that people can participate in and trying to build off of it, but it came off more like a cheap, low rent Saw, something that just was overplayed, overdone. So I couldn't care about the traps. They were too unrealistic. They were too over the top. The characters are very dull and thin. And once again, I don't care about, especially the 2 characters that they bring back, because we're supposed to have a connection to them because they survived this. That one of the characters, you reveal that she has this nerve damage situation where she doesn't feel pain. And you think to yourself, especially going through these traps, that's actually a great trait for a character to have. It's something to set her apart. It's something to make her stand out and be interesting. I can't wait to see what they do with this. And you know what they do with the fact that she can't feel pain? Nothing. You have one moment where something burns her hand and she doesn't react to it. And then the very next scene, she just dies. She dies in such a lame, lazy way. And it was like, wow, why did you even introduce that? And then the very end, when they bring back Deborah Ann Wool, who was in the first movie, I barely remembered even the whole situation, but I do remember thinking that she died. And I guess it's because of how long it's been since the last movie. That's also why I didn't give a fuck about this through line that they were setting up of the secret organization and how powerful they are and what influences they have. It's just, who gives a shit? Who gives a fuck? At number 2, Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Once again, was anybody looking for another Paranormal Activity film? The fact that this isn't connected to the original story in some ways is good, because where that story ended was horrible. And so it's just like, yeah, let's move on and start something different if you're going to do it. But I do beg to ask, whatever happened to Toby? Like, are we never going to address that? I guess not. Our main characters in this movie are going to meet the family of the main character, and I guess they're Amish, and so they're spending time with them. The film is filled with jump scares galore, which none of them are scary. None of them mean anything. Nothing is actually in real danger until the very, very end, which is standard for a Paranormal Activity movie, I guess. And all of these characters making such dumb mistakes. I'm talking about how they get stranded here in the first place because their car battery dies, and they're sitting there waiting because supposedly the family knows how to help them with this, so they just have to wait around until it can happen. But clearly this family is being creepy. It's not until the main girl gets possessed and starts acting weird to when her boyfriend finally says, you know what, we'll just go to the store ourselves and buy a new car battery. So they could have been doing this for the last 2 or 3 days, but no, they waited that long before they finally said, all right, let's do something. And then you sit through over an hour of boringness to get to the point of the story where things actually start to get interesting, where things go to a point where I would be curious to watch this go through, as far as one of the people being possessed by the demon that originally was supposed to possess the girl, and then seeing how powerful this possessed demon thing is, as it just easily kills these cops and then just drives off to, I guess, go after her or just go around and start killing people. Of course, that's when the movie ends. What the fuck? Why couldn't this happen even halfway through the film? Give me 40 or so minutes of more type of shit like this going on. But of course, I can't be lucky. Of course, I can't get anything. Coming in at number 1 for what I think is the worst horror movie of 2021, It's without a doubt Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Here's an example of, is this on a technical level, on a production level, is it worse than the other films that I mentioned? Probably not. But I think it's my level of disappointment, my level of being hurt by this franchise constantly being misrepresented and abused by Hollywood the way that it has been. Doing what they did with Chris and Claire and their backstories at the orphanage. Who gives a shit? Who gives a fuck? So much boringness going on for like the first hour. The horrible truck driver actor that sucked, and his terrible CGI zombie dog that looked like utter shit. Anyone who says that this movie is better than the old Mila Jovovich movies, you're entitled to your opinion, but on a CGI level alone, that's totally not true. The creatures in general, there is a huge CGI monster at the end of this movie that looks atrocious. I haven't seen such bad CGI in the theater since maybe, I don't know, The Mummy Returns. And yeah, sure, you might have had like one set of the police station and the mansion looking decent, but because we're only reduced to like those two locations, it felt entirely cheap. This whole film just felt like they didn't have enough money to fully realize what these games feel like when you're playing them. The bad dialogue, every character having to announce their name more than once to try to get us to care about who they are. Oh, hey guys, I'm Jill Valentine. Hey, I'm Wesker. Hey, I'm so-and-so. It's like, we fucking get it. You're from the game, but give me something about your personality. Give me something about your character itself for why I should give a shit about you. Not just because you just so happen to have the same name as a character from a game that I've played. For example, Leon Kennedy is horrible. The worst character in this movie, and also possibly one of the worst video game represented characters I've ever seen put on screen. Just as far as this guy being an idiot, being an absolute bitch, being made fun of constantly, not just for being a rookie, because that's one thing, but because of all the dumb shit that he's ever done up until this point and continues to do, not being able to use a gun, painful to watch. I don't know if I can ever trust anything Resident Evil in films. Video game movies are just a constant disappointment, a constant just, yeah, we fucked up again. Let me know in the comments below what are some of your worst horror movies of 2021. Do you agree with my list, or am I missing a film that you guys are like, no, this should be there? Thanks for watching. Hit that notification bell. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.
Swimming in beers, I've been through it all, let me trickle a tear. In case you didn't know, I was living sarcastic. A motherfucking monster, something Jurassic. Had to wrap the whole entire bed in plastic. Smoking and scared, switchy fucking with raptors. Killing and a drilling, and I'm sipping on the 4-0. Listen by a whole entire motherfucking torso. Oh, what a rush, sniffing some more blow. Let the bitch bleed, and I'm making a porno. I'ma keep it going a few times before I pass out. Wake up in the morning, realize I'm blacked out.